All right, welcome. So, the carnivore diet, right? It promises so much. Effortless fat loss, amazing energy. But let's be real, why do so many of us hit a wall? You get frustrated, maybe you even quit. Well, today we're going to dig into the most common mistakes that completely derail your progress and, way more importantly, how you can fix them.
So you've started. You're eating all the meat, you've ditched the carbs, but something is just wrong. The results you were promised, they're not showing up. And look, if that's you, you are definitely not alone. This is a super common problem. So we're going to lean on some key insights from Dr. Anthony Chaffee to really break down the biggest mistakes people make so you can finally get the results you're looking for.
Okay, let's just dive right in. The very first, and honestly the most critical mistake people make, it's all about fuel. Seriously, if you get this part wrong, nothing else you do is going to work. This is the foundation, the absolute bedrock of the whole thing.
Now, this is going to sound totally backwards, I know, especially when you're trying to lose weight. But the number one mistake Dr. Chaffee points to is not eating enough food. Wild, right? But here's why. When you switch to carnivore, your body's hunger signals totally change. They go from screaming at you to just whispering. And that makes it incredibly easy to accidentally undereat without even realizing it.
And this really shows you what's going on. Your body is basically learning to speak a whole new language. You know that carb-driven hunger? It's loud, it's demanding, it's this frantic scream for energy now. But on carnivore, your body starts speaking a much calmer language. Hunger stops being an emergency. Instead, it becomes this subtle signal for nutrients. And it communicates that signal through taste and pleasure. It's a total shift.
So this gives us a brand new rule book, and it's so beautifully simple. Just trust your taste. That's it. If that fatty steak tastes absolutely amazing, your body is screaming, yes, I need this, I need these nutrients. So you keep eating. But the very moment it stops being enjoyable or just doesn't taste that good anymore, you're done. Your body's telling you it's full. No more counting, no more measuring. You just listen.
Okay, mistake number 2 in the feeling department is a big one. Not eating enough fat. Now hold on, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, I'm eating way more fat than I ever have in my life. And you're probably right. But what Dr. Chaffee points out is that we've all been brainwashed for decades by this anti-fat message. Our perception is just completely skewed. So what feels like a ton of fat is often nowhere near what your body actually needs to run on it properly. So what's the magic number? Well, you're aiming for about 70 to 80% of your calories to come from fats. Yeah, 70 to 80%. And get this, Dr. Chaffee explains that this isn't just some weird thing for carnivores. Even wild herbivores hit this number. Think about a gorilla munching on leaves. Its gut bacteria are busy fermenting all that fiber into, you guessed it, short-chain fatty acids. A cow eating grass? Same deal. Your body is literally designed to run on fat, probably way more than you ever thought.
All right, so you've got your fuel dialed in. You're eating enough, you're getting enough fat. Awesome. But now, we got to talk about the hidden saboteurs. These are the sneaky things that can totally derail all your hard work. The stuff a lot of people think is totally fine, carnivore friendly, but is actually stopping them from getting those real results.
And here they are, the 4 main culprits. We're talking coffee, artificial sweeteners, too much dairy, and yep, even so-called natural sugars like fruit and honey. According to Dr. Chaffee, every single one of these can slam the brakes on fat loss, trigger inflammation, and just block you from getting the full benefits of this way of eating, no matter how harmless they might seem on the surface.
Let's kick things off with coffee, because this one it's really fascinating. Okay, so normally if you're having, let's just say bathroom issues, like things are a bit too firm, that's a crystal clear sign you're not eating enough fat. But coffee, it acts like a laxative. So it can speed things up and totally mask the fact that you have an underlying fat deficiency. And all the while, it might be causing its own inflammatory problems. It's a sneaky one.
And what about dairy? Cheese is a big one. Dr. Chaffee sees this all the time, people completely stalling their progress because they're just going to town on cheese. His rule for this is so simple and so good. Use dairy as a condiment. The meat is the meal. A little bit for flavor? Sure, that's fine. But the main event is always the meat. All right, fruit and honey. I know. This is a tough one for a lot of people to swallow. But metabolically, your body just doesn't care if the sugar is natural. The fructose you get from an apple or from honey, it gets processed in the exact same way as table sugar. It can spike your insulin and create the very problems you're trying so hard to fix. Like Dr. Chaffee says, it's great food for bees and birds. But it's not a staple food for us.
Okay, we've covered the food. Now let's talk about what is often the hardest part of all of this, the mental game. These psychological traps, I'm telling you, they can be just as damaging, if not more so, than any of the food saboteurs we just talked about.
And this one is huge. It's the perfectionist mindset. You know the drill. You go to a family dinner, you have one meal that has some rice in it, and immediately your brain goes, well, that's it. I failed. Might as well just give up now. That kind of all-or-nothing thinking is an absolute recipe for disaster.
But as Dr. Chaffee makes so clear, that is just not how it works. You're not kicked out of the club. One little slip-up doesn't erase all your progress. The answer is never to quit. It's just to start again, with your very next meal. It's all about consistency, not this impossible idea of perfection.
Here's another mental trap, trying to bring your old diet habits with you. I'm talking specifically about calorie counting. It is completely, 100% counterproductive. Think about it. The whole goal here is to relearn how to listen to your body's own natural signals. Calorie counting literally teaches you to ignore them.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Have you ever seen a lion worrying about the macros in a gazelle? Or a koala with a calculator? Of course not. Animals in the wild eat the food they are designed for, and they eat until they're satisfied. We have that same exact ability built right into us. We just have to learn how to get out of our own way.
And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important piece of this whole puzzle. What is the real goal? Because answering that question requires a massive, fundamental shift in how you measure what success even looks like.
So here it is. The single biggest mistake you can make is fixating on the number on the scale. I mean, that number is such a poor and honestly, a misleading indicator of what's really happening. It makes people who are having these incredible health victories give up, all because the scale isn't moving the way they think it should.
So let's really break this down. The scale has no idea if you're losing fat or gaining muscle, it just gives you one number. Dr. Chaffee's own story is the perfect example of this. He lost 23 pounds of pure inflammation in just 10 days, and then his weight stayed exactly the same for months while he was visibly losing fat and putting on muscle. See? The real goal isn't just weight loss, it's improving your body composition. It's focusing on all the amazing healing that's happening under the hood.
And it's so important to get this. Real, sustainable fat loss is often the very last step in a much bigger healing journey. Your body has its priorities straight. First, it's got to heal your hormonal systems, things like leptin resistance. Then, it needs to rebuild crucial tissues, like muscle and bone. And only then, once your body feels safe, nourished, and healed, will it finally feel secure enough to let go of that stored body fat.
And that really is the ultimate takeaway here. You know, a diet is usually something temporary, something miserable, a chore you have to get through. This is completely different. This is a lifestyle. It's a long-term choice to be as healthy as you can possibly be. It's a real commitment to a way of living that's designed to make you feel absolutely incredible. So let's end where we started with a question for you to think about. Are you chasing a number on a scale, or are you truly trying to build lasting, vibrant health? Because changing that one thing, your goal, that's the most powerful step you can take. It's the real difference between just getting some temporary results and having a true, lasting transformation. Thanks so much for joining me.